about what's happening in the world. Hey, well, there's a detail. We're reviewing the files. There are 160 something files that have been released by Donald Trump's administration, one of the most anticipated promises, in which basically in these declassified files they've published, there are videos, there are photos, there are maps, there are testimonies, there are, well, cases that still need to be analyzed. Which of those cases are truly interesting? There is more evidence that can be corroborated. At the end of the day, not everything that appears there means it's true or that all the cases are actually real. Obviously, that's not the case, but the openness is causing different members of the US Congress to talk about the subject and not just talk about it. But for example, there is already a congressman demanding the release of more videos, and if they are not released in the next few days, he will publish them himself. Because he claims that the declassification is only partial, it's not done properly, there are many videos missing, and many of the things that Congress has already reviewed could be declassified without any problem. So, for example, there's a case of an object that was allegedly attacked by the United States, an unknown object, a strange object, of these UAPs, as they call them, anomalous objects that were allegedly attacked by the US military itself. So there are certain documents, certain files, certain videos that have already been reviewed, meaning they've already passed national security verification and all that, and in theory, they should be published soon. Here, the interesting thing is that they also show up. It's now confirmed a file appears in the documents. In some files, the name Jaime Maussan appears. A figure, a journalist and Mexican ufologist, quite well known, who has made headlines around the world with his reports, obviously always generating attention and controversy on the subject. But he remains a very well-known figure in Mexico, and I think among Spanish speakers he's one of the most famous. Why does he appear in the files? What is known about him? Or what was the reason he appeared at that time? Well, as far as we know so far, he appears because he, along with a pilot, a former pilot from the United States, appeared in the Mexican Congress, talking about the UFO issue and about. We have to remember that moment was also special here for Mexico in the sense that these people appeared in Congress and in the end they were trying to talk about it, spread the word, and open up the discussion. Some supposed, well, mummies like a kind of bodies that Maussan mentioned, and according to his own investigations, they would have non-human characteristics, even openly extraterrestrial, right? And it's already a tremendously interesting topic, but at the same time it caused controversy. And within the document from the US archives, this was catalogued as such. It's like that's not the case, like the scientists simply would have, at least for the United States or for the US archive, they would have shown that there was no interest because they simply believed that, or with the evidence they might have, that it wasn't a real case, right? So it simply wasn't what was being said. Now, whether this is true or not, obviously that would have to be investigated independently by different universities around the world. So in the end, people have been insisting on it for quite some time now, and at least some parts, maybe important parts of this research have been shown. But in the end, the conclusions, at least in a scientific way, right? Orthodox, so to speak, it's been said that this simply doesn't make any sense, right? And that's precisely what will be said in these files where Trump basically says, or what appears there is, didn't they find it interesting to keep investigating that part? And so that case is just dismissed. Maussan appears, but I'm sure that cases like that plane or small aircraft that was going from, let's say, the central part of Mexico to the Pacific are going to start appearing. And that a small aircraft, well, supposedly makes contact with an identified flying object. A very well-known case here in Mexico, along with other cases that will surely show up at some point in these files that are mostly recent cases. Although there are some cases from the 60s, there are also cases that have nothing to do with the UFO subject, but rather with anomalous phenomena or simply strange cases that go beyond the norm, beyond what's normal, so to speak, within this reclassification that's being attempted, because we have to remember that even though there is some openness, it's becoming more and more open. There is also a group that is fighting for exactly the opposite, that is trying to prevent this topic from being opened up. In fact, some documents were just revealed and they started removing them. I mean, the documents you could download started to disappear, only some of them, which doesn't really make sense for them to remove them anymore, because obviously once they're published, people start downloading them and people can share them immediately. So what they've tried to censor again just isn't possible anymore. What's been published is already out there. So in that sense, it's clear to me they can't take a step back. The step that was taken today is done, you could say. It's just a smokescreen. It's just to entertain. It's just to distract. Honestly, I can't forget the Einstein case. I can't forget what's happening in Iran. Nor can I forget, well, a series of, let's say, problems that have happened in the economy, including inflation and all that. So, it's not that this issue is forgotten, it's just that this declassification had been one of their promises and it was necessary for it to be done. And of course, he's trying to score points. What politician doesn't want to do that? All politicians want to score points by any means necessary. And if that means revealing unidentified flying objects or official documents, then clearly they're going to do it. In the case of Trump, at least, the circumstances are right for the information to be revealed, and I think that's a good opportunity to reveal that information and talk about the issue. I find it very interesting, honestly I do. Well, in the end, it doesn't come from nowhere. It's based on a reality that has been investigated for so many years, with so many journalists who have talked about the subject, and even increasingly clear evidence has been shown. And even so, people still don't want to talk about the subject. This has to push things forward, just like the documents revealed by Joe Podesta did at the time. Well, it was really because of Obama, but Joe Podesta was the one who pushed for it. This disclosure, both of CIA documents at that time and also classified documents on the UFO topic, from there things opened up more and more, but we have to remember who first released documents on a massive scale. We must not forget the biggest declassification the United Kingdom carried out at the time. That was in the early 2000s when the United Kingdom released thousands of declassified documents that you can still access to this day. You can go see them without any problem, download them if you want. And in this declassification, there's a bit of everything. There are some very interesting cases and others that aren't as much. They don't mean proof, it simply means that among all the cases reported to the English police, they themselves classify them and set them aside. They put them in a folder. So what you can see there, just imagine, to give you an example, a lady in Birmingham or in any town you can think of over there in England. Well, she called the police and said, hey, an object like this landed in the yard, just to put it that way. Hey, so how was it? Draw us a sketch. Well, it went like this. And there was testimony. Look, the neighbor over there saw something. Then the other neighbor heard something, and they would report all of that, write it down, and it would go into a file. That file was declassified many years ago. So we're talking about these declassifications having been happening for a while now. But it was important for the United States to take a clearer role so that the topic could be discussed seriously. Because obviously there will always be people who don't understand the topic and want to downplay it. What they mean is that this is useless, that this is for fools, it's this, it's that. There will always be a comment like that. But well, in every topic there will always be someone like that. Obviously, well, I don't know, that's just going to keep happening. No, it's fine. What's interesting for those of us who are actually interested in understanding the phenomenon, and above all, not just understanding it, but studying it, also being critical. It's not just about accepting what you're told. Having a critical perspective is important. We have to try to understand it in the most open-minded way possible, but always with our feet on the ground. Obviously, I think that's something we should all demand of ourselves a little bit. Now, extraordinary? Some of the cases, some of the objects that appear in the videos behave in an unusual way. Even more surprising than that famous video called Gimbal. No, that's how they've named the Gimbal video. Well, much more surprising than those videos. That's clear to me. It's also interesting. They are videos that are surprising, that do have a certain level of interest beyond the ordinary. Besides, we have to remember that these are military-grade cameras with filters, with capabilities that are on another level to be able to track them. What we're going to talk about tonight, besides all the day's news, is a case that's being revealed right now. From a U.S. congressman who is part of the team, along with Tim Burnett, with Luna, also the other congresswoman, Republican, and also Democrats who have been on this disclosure and investigation team. Well, after analyzing the topic, I mean, because they analyze it from a very clear point of view, which is national security. I mean, they don't analyze it philosophically or out of interest in the mystery, although maybe they have that too, but they analyze it. Well, thinking about what characteristics it has, why it's entering their airspace, which in the end belongs to them, or at least that's how they see it, right? What risk does it pose to civil aviation, to military aviation? What are the chances that this is nothing more than someone else's technology? I mean, all those analyses, all that research is being carried out. Even what is disclosed has gone through an extensive process, months of review, to avoid releasing something that might later reveal things that shouldn't be shown. In the sense that all those cameras contain very advanced components and technologies. By revealing them, and what's in there, will it also reveal where the United States is positioned and what capabilities it has to monitor the Pacific, the Indian Ocean, US bases, and all the rest. So, well, that seems to me at least an interesting topic, but it's not the only one. Today we're also going to analyze what's happening in Iran, which is a topic that, as you know, we've been following. There's a clash going on, and there are some very interesting developments with the United Arab Emirates. The Emirates is emerging as the country that doesn't want to negotiate, the country that, and I don't mean it in a bad way, I mean it in the sense that, honestly, well, up to now, that's how it seems to me, and I would love to hear your opinion, that among the Gulf countries, they are the ones who have shown the most dignity, in the sense that Saudi Arabia has been very pragmatic. He says, they're attacking me, but I won't react because they don't want to risk their money. The same goes for Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain, Oman, even worse, because Oman, just to appear neutral, what Oman has been doing is getting too close to Iran. But the United Arab Emirates has drawn a red line and said, no, 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 no. If we give them a chance, if we give them the opportunity to close the strait whenever they want, the problem won't end and they will become slaves to the Ayatollah's regime. So what the United Arab Emirates does is start attacking. Little is said about the subject, we've mentioned it here. They have indeed launched attacks, although they won't confirm it. It's known. Some Iranian media have reported it that way, since they suspect and have seen the missiles coming from there. And that, well, it's super interesting because some country had to make a bit of a difference. Hey, I have to go, I went on a bit too long. A big shout out to the whole community. Many thanks to Mr. X, Druka, Rick Castro, Alpha, and the whole community. See you in a little while. Take care. See you later. Bye.